I imagine there's a combination of factors, but after you watch the film, the Oregon film, what was your biggest concern defensively?
Well, I mean, giving up too many yards and too many points. I mean, that's the bottom line. We're not, and I think now it's not just a single game. It's a little bit of a pattern. So, took a long, hard look the last 48 hours at everything that's going on, and certainly going to make some adjustments here. And not only of how we're attacking other offenses, but also just structurally how we're doing our day-to-day operations.
With the injury to Josh, has there been any personnel changes? I know you guys have Bryson there and you have Marcus there, but could like a Ryan Watts move there or something like that?
Sure. Yeah, we're looking at all that to try to make some adjustments. Losing Josh for the whole year kind of changes some things, and Bryson's had some good snaps in there, but we're going to have to take a look at what gives us the best chance moving forward, and maybe possibly trying some guys at different spots is kind of things we're looking at.
Second row left, Steven. Ryan, from an offensive perspective, obviously things have gotten kind of off to a slow start. How much of that is CJ's a young quarterback trying to settle himself in, and how much of that is maybe some play callers that you run at the beginning of the game, maybe establishing the line as much to get the run game going?
Yeah, I think when you look at the first two games, certainly the Minnesota game, to have 35 points in the last 22 plays, and then last week, having over 600 yards of total offense. We got really good scheme, really good plays. I think in both of those situations, both of those games, we have to finish off drives better. This week we didn't convert on fourth down, and we got off schedule on some penalties. That really hurt us, especially in the score zone. We got down there, I want to say 3 times, and got false start penalties that got us into first or second and 15, and then didn't convert on third down, and then didn't convert on fourth down. But when things are cooking, we really got an opportunity to be very, very explosive, which you've seen. And so now we got to do a better job of playing complementary football and doing a better job of finishing off those drives than we can.
Your first touchdown of the year, I think you guys are in tempo because you kind of caught them. Do you feel like you guys are doing that enough, or have things kind of messed that up, whether it's penalties or anything else?
Same as we've always been. If you look at the way that we've done it, very, very, much like we've done it in the past. And again, when you look at the total yards of offense, you have over 600 yards against, very, very good defense. That's not the issue. I thought we had really good tempo at times, and we got in and out of the right plays. But when you're not converting on fourth down, those count as turnovers, and not finishing off drives is not good enough. And so we have to run the ball better, and we have to do a better job of finishing off drives. That's just the bottom line. And looking back on it, probably could have maybe punted a few times and pooched early on and played a little bit more of the field position game, but that didn't happen. And moving forward, we got to do a better job of just finishing drives off. But moving the ball down the field, I think we've been doing an excellent job of that.
Yeah, Coach, Sevyn Banks hasn't been listed on the status report the past couple weeks, but he hasn't played at all. I was wondering if there's anything else going on there besides an injury issue.
Yeah, no, nothing else.
Second row left, Nathan.
You finally got to use Palie Neatote this past week. Last time we had talked to you about him, or one of the times, you said that he wasn't even really working with the first and second team at some point in the preseason. So had that started to change at all before he was got his eligibility, and what sort of role do you see for him going forward?
Yeah, it was similar to what I think you saw, on Saturday. I think that, he was with, the defense, and he was with those guys and in the meetings and still getting reps throughout the week. But moving forward, I think it's like you saw, that Sam linebacker spot. He's a big body, and he's a good matchup. And in terms of athleticism, speed, and size in bigger sets, especially with 2 tight ends in the game.
I know things are still fluid at a lot of positions, but Ryan Watts started the first game, and Cavazos was, I think, seemed like more like 5th or 6th in that rotation, and then Legend was playing a lot of snaps in his last game. How are you guys sort of assessing the play from these younger guys at corner? Was Ryan available more on Saturday, and just a decision was made that he wasn't the right guy?
Yeah, I think that what we're doing is we're just trying to take the snaps that we've seen in the games, and then the snaps we've seen in practice, and do the best we can to put the right guys out there. And we like to play depth. We don't like to play the same guys, obviously, for the entire game. So trying to find that balance is what we're at right now. And we got to look at all those options. And like we've talked about before, is it personnel, is it coaching, or is it scheme? And finding the right people in the right spots is part of coaching, and making sure that the right guys are in those spots.
Ryan, to follow up on that and the playing depth part, do you think that you guys are playing too many? It seems like maybe a linebacker, it's been difficult to establish any consistency, and I don't know. Have you thought that you need to pare that down and just let the starters play more?
Well, I think if they're playing at a high level, it wouldn't be a question. But certainly because there hasn't been consistency there, that's something that we got to look into and make sure that, like you said, we're not putting guys in there and not getting enough reps and getting in the flow of the game. So it's like anything else. When it's not working, then you have to look at all those things. And if that's what it is, then we got to get it fixed and make sure that the right guys are in there for more snaps.
Out of camp, you seemed like linebacker was still the spot that you were maybe most uncertain about. Did you anticipate that this might be the case for the first couple of weeks, that you'd have to work through it?
I mean, I hoped not, but yes, that's where we are right now.
Third row left, Bill.
Ryan, you said you might make some adjustments here structurally with the defense. Why did you feel comfortable, I guess, not doing that before coming into the season?
Well, I think there was a lot of things coming into the season, coming off of last season that, especially with COVID and everything like that, that was hard to identify exactly, what the issues were, or moving forward, I felt confident that we could get them fixed and addressed. And, when we made the adjustments to, help in the pass game, certainly it wasn't adjusted in the run game. So, a different issue, but the same outcome. And so now here we are, and so we got to get some things fixed.
And, you guys are hardly the only team that plays a lot of cover 1 and cover 3, but there aren't many teams who kind of pre-rotate like you guys do with that post safety in the middle of the field. Is one simple change up to just rotate after the snap rather than rotating pre-snap and kind of play with a too high shell?
Yeah, there's a lot of things to look at, and we're going to look at all those things and figure out what gives us the best chance. Yeah.
Fourth row middle, Pat.
Ryan, coming into the season, you said a number of times at Ohio State you can't lose.
Right.
You guys have. How do you then respond to that? We haven't seen a loss that hasn't ended a season for you guys. How does this respond in a Ryan Day team?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key, and I think the great thing about something like this is two things. One, the issues that are there get exposed, and you get a chance to really address them with this group. And then two, you find out a lot about a lot of people when adversity hits. You find out about their true character. It's one thing when things are going well. People can be front runners. They can pat you on the back, and whether it's inside the program or outside the program. But when something goes bad, you find out about who people are, and that's something that it's called life, and it's a great opportunity for our guys to learn about that and grow. And if we come out of this thing strong, it can make us better, and that's what we have to use it for, that type of thing, to build some strength within us and build some leadership, and that's what we're going to do.
These past 2 losses have always ended the season. You've had to sit on that. Is it better is not the right word, but the chance that you get to go out and play another game this weekend and fix things, is that better than maybe spending the whole off season thinking about a loss to Clemson or a loss to Alabama?
No, I mean, you hate to sit on those type of things, but this loss doesn't sit well at all. It's something that, we wanted to win this game, and we had it circled for a long time, and so we're very disappointed. But like you said, we're able to get back on the field here within a week and start to get to work on getting things fixed.
I recall after the 2018 debacle at Maryland, Urban Meyer said that his conversation with his defensive staff was uncomfortable and direct. How would you characterize the conversation?
I can't hear what you're saying. Say it again.
You can remove your mask.
After the 2018 loss to Maryland, Urban said that the conversations were uncomfortable and direct with his defensive staff. How would you characterize those conversations you're having with your staff right now?
Just honest. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say they're uncomfortable. They're real. I mean, you put on the film, and if something doesn't get fixed, it needs to get addressed. And I have no problem having those type of conversations. It's pretty simple to see what needs to get fixed.
And as far as Denzel Burgos, has he been as good as you could have hoped for coming into his first couple of starts and the way he's played through 2 games?
I mean, I think that he's shown in the games what he's shown in practice. I thought that they went after him a couple times downfield, and he did a really good job in that area. I think he's got a very, very bright future. He's like a lot of the younger guys we have out there. Everything he's doing is for the first time. So, yeah, I mean, I think for a young player stepping into a couple of these spots, he's done a good job. And the future's bright with him and a bunch of the younger guys that we have.
Ryan, you mentioned structural changes on defense. Can you expound on that
Nah, I'd rather not. I just, we are going to make some adjustments and changes. We have to, but I'd rather not get into all that right now.
Come to that decision.
After the game, yeah. I mean, the last 48 hours, just going through it, and you want to act. You don't want to overreact. You have to make sure that you do things the right way, and you allow people to do their job. But when it gets to a certain point, you have to get things fixed. And that's what we're going to do.
Second row right, Tim?
In other words, you don't want to delineate what you've, is it change in like structure defensively from the standpoint of the coaching staff, or is it, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I'd rather not get into all that, but right now, but yeah, I mean, we're looking at all those type of things.
And does it hurt the most that these first two teams have run the ball as effectively as they had? And what have you seen just from your watching the video that
Yeah.
seems to just jump out at you?
Well, I think when you come off of last year, the passing game was obviously a big issue. We're top 10 in the country last year in stopping the run, and we make some adjustments to get it stopped in the back end, and now we're having a hard time in the run. So, like I said, different issues, but the same outcome. And so, and that's again when you have to look at, what is the issue? Is it, the style we're playing? Is it the way we're coaching it? Is the scheme? So, when you go in the off season, you have time to make an adjustment, and you think it's right, and then you come into these games and you're not getting it done, then there's some bad assumptions made and bad changes. So we got to own that and move on.
One other quickie. Is there one player on defense, especially right now, that you can point to that's like you think's playing pretty great that others could follow? You know what I mean? From a standpoint, et cetera.
I think a lot of the guys have had very good snaps, and I think that there's been flashes here and there, and there's been good things, but just consistency across the board right now is not where it needs to be.
Fourth row left, Jacob?
Ryan, going back to the last question about depth, we know how your team likes to rotate guys in, play depth and whatnot. Just how do you balance? I know it's only 2 games in, but how do you balance plans to redshirt some of the players? Just that process in general. How are you going to balance that moving forward as the season?
I mean, if guys can help us, then they're going to play. If it gets to a point where we're just putting them in the game just to get them in the game, then no, we won't do that. But if we think they can help us win, then they're going to play.
And then Jesse Mirko, how did you assess his first time punting in Ohio Stadium and then dropping some inside the 5? Just how did you assess his performance?
Yeah, pretty good. He missed one of them, but he also really got that one down on the 1 yard line, and he actually got 2 there that were pretty good. And so he's done a good job. For a a young kid in terms of playing, he's an older guy. He's in his mid-20s, and so he's played in front of crowds before, and so it was good to see him step up. And you're never quite sure the first time he punts it what it's going to look like, but so far so good.
Second row middle, Bill?
Yeah. When you hired Kerry Combs, he had never been a defensive coordinator. Can you describe the level of confidence you have with him and the conversations kind of you've had with him in the last couple of days?
Yeah, I'd rather not share the conversations, but yeah, I mean, when you look at the results over the last couple games and then coming off of last year, it's not what we expect here. It's not our expectations, and so I mean that's all part of looking at how we need to move forward with this thing.
In terms of the linebackers, all of them are inexperienced, but you had some seniors, Taraja and Dallas and Kayvon, who were upperclassmen, and they've probably not had the impact that you wanted. How disappointing is that? Where do you see the fix coming at linebacker?
Well, I think it's, again, all the above. I think that, helping them with scheme, coaching it better, the more experience they have. And, again, these are guys coming in that we knew didn't have great experience. So, maybe we need to help them a little bit more. It's all part of coaching, especially in college, as you figure out where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are, and you try to help them with that. And I think the more experience they get, the better they're going to be too. It's not like I don't think they can do it, but we also have to put them in a position to be successful.
When you watched some of those plays, did you kind of go, "What's going on here"?
On a couple of them, yeah.
Third row left, Dan?
Ryan, when you say you're taking a look at hard look at everything with coaching staff, do you look at changing responsibilities, having guys potentially somebody do something different than they've been doing the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
You were asked about Seven Banks. I just wanted to follow up on that. If he's been too injured to play, why hasn't he been listed on the availability report?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, he's not too injured to play. So he has had some injuries, and he was kind of slow in preseason and everything like that. But now he's healthy.
So you just decided to hold him out just precautionary?
Yeah. So he hasn't played up to this point, but hopefully we can get him on the field here this week.
pain as well. Is that something that you've had to manage at all in practice to, try to keep him healthy?
Yeah, but that's part of being a quarterback. You're always going to have bumps and bruises, and I think when you're a playing in the spring or you're in the preseason, you have a black jersey on, you're never touched, and then you go out there and you get conference play or this game this past weekend, you're going to get banged around a little bit. Justin went through that. All these guys, JT went through that a ton, and that's part of being a quarterback at a big time level. So it's something you're just going to have to get used to and work through.
Ryan, just talking again about kind of how you're leading the team as a head coach the first time after a loss in the regular season. Are there experience either as an assistant or as a player that you've drawn on and you're kind of leading the team like in this situation?
No, I mean, lost games before. I know that no one's used to losing or anything like that, but we're just going to move on and make corrections, and the sun came up, and we're going to go from there. And it's nothing that different guys haven't felt before. They've lost games before, but again, what it really does is it allows you the opportunity to address issues that are already there, and that's what's gone on here. And so they got to get addressed, and they got to get fixed, because certainly we don't want it to happen again.
And Harry Miller's a guy who's been unavailable the first 2 weeks. Can you give an update on his status or when we might see him again?
Yeah, he's been unavailable.
One more on C.J. Stroud. Both Minnesota and Oregon, he's come out on the first couple of series. Seems like when he's been off, he's missed high on throws. Do you have any explanation? Is that adrenaline for a young quarterback? It seems.
I mean, I thought he was really accurate on Saturday. I mean, I thought he made some throws that I haven't seen a young kid make in a long time. So that was not our issue.
Back row, far right, Spencer. Ryan, when you rewatched the film, did you see some things with the offensive line that need corrected, and how do you go about that, knowing that these guys are among the most talented unit on the field, but they had some issues in this game?
Yeah. I mean, they were good up front, and their linebackers were very good. Sewell's, really good at kind of bouncing around there, and we just never got into a rhythm. And yeah, I mean, I think sometimes when you go against your own defense for, 30 some odd practices, you get into a rhythm a little bit of the style that you're going up against. They were a little bit different, a little bit more two-gapping and a different style, and it, we didn't quite get into a rhythm there. So looking at their tracks and how the combinations are and how the running backs are hitting those things are all things that we got to clean up. I mean, there were still some good hits in there, but not consistent enough. So, you're looking at guys, again, who, DeJuan's really kind of fresh at right tackle. Nick made the move to left. There's, now playing the second game at guard. Paris really second start at right guard, and then Luke, is fresh at center. So while they are very talented, they don't have a ton of game experience, and so when some of those defensive techniques are a little bit different than what they've seen every day in practice, it can cause a little bit of confusion, and so that's just something that we got to work through and get them more experience on that and give them all the tools they need to adjust in game, because each team we're going to play here on out, they're very, very different. This team that we're about to play, completely different scheme. Minnesota was very different than Oregon, and then we'll have different schemes along the way. Some are 3 down, some are 4 down, some are 2 gap, some are penetrators, some pressure a lot, some don't pressure a lot, and so you see a wide variety week in and week out. And the more experience you have and the more, reps you can draw upon, like, okay, I've played against this for a whole game of a two-gapping, two technique, then you have something to go upon, because the way that you block that guy is very, very different than the guy you would block maybe against our defense or the week before. So I think that played into it a little bit, and so we got to learn on it, make the corrections, and go.
You guys had a couple different penalties there. I think DeJuan had 2 false starts and Thayer had holding. Do you just kind of chalk that up to those guys pressing as the games go on?
No, they were both in tempo, and I think we got to be louder with the cadence, and we just need to keep our poise a little bit. When we're going fast, we got to get up there. We got to make the calls. It's all happening fast, so there's a little bit of a communication there. They're talking, they're identifying what's going on up front, and then there's a little bit of a false start there. And that happened a couple times, and it was a shame, because if we get the ball snapped, we had big plays. So it's something that we got to fix in practice. We got to practice it a little bit better in practice, and then go from there.
Coach, Brian Kelly mentioned after the Toledo game that he's still trying to find out what his team's all about. You lost 6 guys off your front 7 on defense. Is that the way the defense is right now, that this has always been that way, that they're maybe way too much turnover?
I mean, that's the way it is here a lot. You know, we lose a lot of really good players year in and year out. But, yeah, I mean, to your point, we certainly haven't found an identity on defense yet. I mean, yeah, we got to figure that part of it out because we haven't done that. But it's something that happens here a lot, and that's, you know, you lose great players to the NFL, and you have to regroup and rebuild.
Deep center field, Andrew?
Can you elaborate on the patience that it takes with a freshman quarterback when he makes a mistake or overthrows a pass? And then are you ever considering possibly putting in another quarterback just given the talent behind him, just to kind of switch it up a little bit?
No, I mean, not after how he played on Saturday. We got to help him more. We got to run the football better. We got to play better defense. That's the bottom line.
Second row left, Steve?
Yeah, Coach, along those lines with CJ, it seemed like he ran really tentative the 3 times he ran the ball. He was sacked 2 other times. Is quarterback run going to be something that you guys build in as you go along, and could that have been an impact where maybe he was trying to protect himself off of what happened against Minnesota? It just seems like if that threat's not there, they're going to sit on your running backs, and kind of the result you got.
No, I mean, I don't think he was that tentative. I thought he was pretty aggressive. I thought the third down that we got the holding call on Thayer, he did an unbelievable job. It was 3rd and 10. He tucked it, got the first down, and took a good shot in there. I mean, dropped his shoulder and took a hit there. We got the holding call, so it ended up, 3rd and 20, which was a major call, a major point in the game. And I thought he really competed at that moment. I think as a quarterback, you also have to be smart. You have to take, you have to be smart. He's running down the sideline, had a really good scramble for a first down along the right sideline early on, got a late hit on the sideline, picked up 15 yards there. So, I think he's got himself out of trouble. I think in 2 games, I think he's had 2 sacks. I think they came at the end there. So I think he's got a pretty good feel in the pocket, and he is a threat with his feet. He is a threat with his legs. You saw last year the 80-yard touchdown run he had. So he's had some good scrambles, and we'll continue to build on that as time goes. But at the end of the day, our running backs have to run, and our line has to block. And there'll be times we want to read somebody with him, and he'll do a good job of it.
Other side, defensive line, are you troubled by the lack of production? You had 0 sacks and 1 tackle for loss in this game. And I know you guys talk a lot about changing the line of scrimmage and putting them back a yard or 2. Just seems like you didn't get any of that in this game.
Yeah, I mean, that is frustrating for sure. Yeah, I mean, we gotta create some disruption. We got to affect the quarterback, and we didn't do that.
Third row middle, Doug?
Ryan, you said there were some plays that you watched and said, man, I sort of completed that. The 77-yard touchdown run for them to open the second half. Your middle linebacker follows the tight end out. Safety's a little offset. What happened there? Is that did somebody miss an assignment coming over? Was it just the scheme was wrong? Just a specific to give us a little help.
Yeah, it was a fit. The communication, there was an issue up front, and the fit was wrong. And I'm not gonna throw out specifics, but yeah, the fit was wrong, and then it spit to the safety, and the safety didn't get him down on the ground, and so it was a lack of execution.
Okay, and then I know you don't want to tell us everything that's going on, but I just don't know if it serves anybody for us to leave here like vague, not 100. Is Kerry going to call the defense this weekend?
Well, again, I don't want to get into specifics. I want to keep looking at it this week. I don't think it's something that we're going to, decide right now either. It's going to be something that, we all got in there and we all are taking a hard look at everything we're doing, from scheme to, our structure to all those type of things, and what gives us the best chance as we play against Tulsa to win the game. And we'll look at all those things, but no hard decisions have been made that way yet.
You have a 10-year college defensive coordinator in the building, and Paul Rhodes, who's an analyst. Is that somebody that, when you have somebody with that experience, could be an option if you needed something and elevate him to an assistant?
I mean, Paul is a great resource for our coaches, and he's really good. The hard thing, for him in any type of those type of situations is, he doesn't really know the players that much because he doesn't really get a chance to coach the players. So that would be unfair to him. And but I mean, we're obviously looking at all those type of things right now to figure out what gives us the best chance. And he's great for our coaches, and he's a great resource. Good coach.
You have time for just a few more over here to the far right. Clay? Ryan, just want to confirm, I thought you said that some people on the staff have new duties. I mean, you've made some.
I didn't say that. No.
Oh, you did not?
I don't think so. If I did.
Okay.
But we are looking at all those type of things to see what gives us the best chance. And if there's some things that guys can do better, then we'll go from there.
Your focus is usually on offense. To have to move over here, is that disconcerting or surprising to you that now you've got to address that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not happy about that at all. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the deal is that, here for me to do what I need to do on offense, I need, the defense really on point, the special teams on point. I need Mark Pantoni to do a great job in recruiting, Mick Marotti to handle strength and conditioning. And the minute that I get taken away from those type of things, then it affects everything else that's going on in offense. And so, yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, that I'm disappointed.
With that said, Coach, are you going to get more involved with the defense? You're going to start going to more of the meetings and all that? I mean, how will this change for you?
Yeah, I'm not on the intricacies of it all, but yeah, certainly needed to get in there and figure out what exactly are we doing moving forward. Hire guys to do a job, and they got to do it. But now, kind of going in there and figuring out, okay, who in that room and what are we doing moving forward gives us the best chance to come up with ideas to get this done. Because we have good coaches and we have good players, and so we can figure this out. But we have to, again, ask hard questions and maybe make things uncomfortable, and that's part of my job.
But as far as any kind of hard changes with staff, you haven't come there yet?
I mean, it's going to be kind of over time, yeah, and we'll get there. But right now, we're just going to kind of work through it and figure out, again, let's have a great day of practice today. What gives us the best chance against Tulsa? And then, as we get closer to the game, we'll figure out if we need to move things around for game day.
Fourth row left, Jack. Hey, Ryan. You're losing Josh is obviously a big hit to personnel, but you're also losing the most veteran member of that safeties unit. Do you feel like you're losing some steadiness or maybe some leadership in that area?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Experience. We need experience on defense right now. We don't have a lot of guys with experience, and so when you lose a guy like that, it hurts because he has played for us. When you look back there, there's a lot of guys that haven't. So, that's another shot.
Final two questions here. First one, Bill. Second row left, Bill.
Yeah, I want to ask you about Jackson Smith and the Jigba. Obviously, he had a big game. It gets overshadowed because of Chris and Garrett, but what do you see? What have you seen from him so far, and what do you see for his potential?
Yeah, I mean, he's had a good spring and preseason, and then that first game really didn't get in the rhythm of it all. With 48 snaps, you really don't get into it, but you can see what his potential is, and I think he's very, very good in the slot. He can change directions. He can wiggle free against underneath coverage players really well, and has big play potential. And so made some really big catches for us. Had some really good routes, and so again, he's got a chance to be really good for us. And when you look at some of the depth we have at receiver, we haven't been able to see those guys quite yet. Julian Fleming and some of the guys that have been working really hard, and they're coming, because we have really good depth there.
Third row left, Bill.
Yeah, so this is, I guess, kind of been hit on already, but just like, yes or no, is Kerry Combs this team's defensive coordinator? I don't know.
Yes, he's still the defense coordinator, yes. But we're going to look at everything, and we're going to keep working towards Tulsa and figure out how the staff is working together, how the scheme works together, and then we'll go from there.
And final question, second row right off.
All right, I know you can't take anything for granted coming off of a loss, but Tulsa, Akron, Rutgers, Maryland, you should win these games. You're going to be favored still. What will define success for you if you're not just winning? What do you need to see in the coming weeks to know that this is on the track you want?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, progress. We got to see progress. We got to see guys building and growing, and confidence being built, and high level execution. That's it. And you know it when you see it. You know when there's confidence being built, and execution fuels emotion, and then vice versa. So that's what we got to see, and it's not going to all happen at once. You can't just go out there in one or two plays and make things better. It's a day to day. You got to do a great job at practice. You got to do a great job in your preparation. Then you got to go put it on the field and be a competitive excellence. And that's, when you look at it at the end of the day, why weren't we a competitive excellence? That's what we have to look at. You got to look at yourself, then you got to look at the coaching, and then you got to look at, why your unit wasn't ready to go. And